Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are not precisely at a concert. We're not precisely at a lecture. We are precisely entering a new series from the Nepean Symphony called Understanding Music. For the past 3 years, the orchestra ventures into the schools of the region, and we usually arrive at various places some 50 times each year with various programs. And now, to start this program today, we played a piece. Perhaps you don't know what it is. I'll tell you in a minute. And I wonder, did we like it? Who liked it? Okay? No, it's not. Who didn't like it? That's fair too. And finally, the biggest question, I guess, is how do we know what we like? And the question before that, if we're going to have a series about understanding music, is maybe we should decide what music is. Well, let's see. Some definitions. Music is sounds that are pleasing to the ear. But who decides what's pleasing? Or maybe we could say music, let's see, if you have the successful combination of melody and harmony and form, that could be music. But who decides what's successful? Aaron Copland wrote years ago that music is motion in time. I don't know if that helps all of us. But what if I was to say to you that music is an art form through which composers can express thoughts and ideas? What if we just left it at that? So maybe if you're deciding that a piece is good or is not good, perhaps that's a reflection of the thought or idea of the composer. Or it could be a reflection of our own understanding or lack thereof of a certain musical style. And so over this series, we're going to have a very close look at a lot of items about music. And you may wonder why we offer a series like this in the first place. And for me, I'm very curious about why people come to concerts in the first place. And I like to think that the best reason for going is for the music, not for the conductor, or not for the soloist, or not for the artist, but to share in a celebration of fabulous works that have come to us from many composers. So we're going to work hard. You're going to have to work hard this morning too. This is not a sit in the pew kind of series. We'll get you to work in a few moments. But we changed our whole philosophy in Nepean, and we have a mission statement that I'd like to share with you this morning so you know where we're coming from, and then we'll get back to sounds. And we believe that using the vehicle of music, using music as a vehicle, to allow the greatest number of people to know the value of art to humanity, in the belief that this knowledge will inspire their lives. Art is what lets us celebrate ourselves. So we'll have a close look at how we do that. The first piece we did here was by Johann Christian Bach, and was part of a sinfonia, first movement. And it had lots of energy and was busy in D major. But if we believe that music can be thoughts and ideas expressed, I thought it would be interesting to take 4 thoughts from J.S. Bach. And we're going to play them individually, using different instruments from the orchestra. And I want you to just listen to each thought and enjoy it as a piece in itself, be it so brief. And then we'll put all 4 thoughts together, and rather than chaos or confusion, we'll find that from 4 wonderful thoughts comes one magnificent thought. So let's hear the first idea. colors we've heard, and now we're going to put them all together. And we found it's very useful if you might think about listening to this chorale played together with your eyes shut. It's very curious. Composers get ideas. They come from the mind, the soul, what you will. Then they use this awful stuff called paper and try and write them down. It's a very imprecise art to write these ideas down. And the paper goes to the players who try and lift the thoughts from the page back to your mind. So if we listen with our eyes shut, we might complete the circle. And it gives us a kind of reaction. We'll play it again. Play it again. Right? There's a response from us that this feels final. Piece is over. Except when there's movements. It gets trickier when there's movements. We know the piece is at an end. And if we know that, if we can hear from that, this piece is history, it is finished, it is over, then we can probably understand any chord progressions. Let's change this piece. We'll play it slightly differently. Doesn't want to do that, does it? It almost asks a question. So composers can put notes together in certain ways that can give us different responses. The first one, yeah. Second one, what? And then there's this next piece, although it's twice as long. Little surprise in this one. And it gives us a different reaction that kind of makes you smile. Didn't it make you smile when we went to A flat major? Do you need to know we went to A flat major instead of G? Then let's do a 20th century version of this. first chord again. Now who says hold the phone? That's not music. Oh, I've got you all. Doesn't it sound ugly? Don't like it. Right on. But isn't it a valid expression? Can we identify some part of our lives that sounded like that chord? Is it not part of our existence? This becomes part of the problem of the 20th century, which we'll deal with on another day. Is we're hearing a language that seems somehow foreign to us. We seem to prefer the first piece because we can instantly understand it and react to its meaning. Now let's take perhaps one of the best known melodies of all time. Should we end it here? Does it need to do something? Who went? Oh. Just one note in that melody. Come on, come on, come on, come on. It leads us. Just like chords have done, now melodies are starting to push us around. So let's help this melody. Let's add a chord at just that pivotal point. Composers can use chords to help their melodies, to make their meaning clearer, as that one did. I will try this same melody with a slightly different version. Now, if that didn't sound quite as final to you, or as appropriate, then you've taken another step to figuring this music business out. Chords have certain effects. We need to use them the proper way. So let's move up and put this melody into the 20th century. Which one do you like? So we've seen melody. We've had a bit of a look at some chords. But I wonder if anybody here, young or old, this is not a children's series, it's a people's series, knows what prime element we have left out of our discussion to date. That has to do with music. We've had melody and chords. What's left? What's another element of music? Rhythm, indeed. Rhythm and pulse. When I was doing the J.C. Bach piece, you could see me doing this. When I was doing the J.S. Bach chorale, I was doing this. You can't hear this. You can see it. And what this is the pulse of the piece. And around this pulse go rhythms. Different groupings of notes around the basic pulse. We all have pulse inside us. We have heartbeats. Keeps us alive. Pulse in music does the same thing. It keeps the music alive. And now we're going to externalize collectively our inner pulse. We're going to have an orchestra of the assemblage. And our instruments will be our hands. And we'll give you a head start. The orchestra will play a bit of this composition first, and then I'll ask you to join with us. Now, do all these sound the same? Who hears one that's different? Maybe it's the first one. Because musical ideas are grouped in metric thoughts sometimes. So what we do is add a little extra emphasis to the first group. Shall we? And. Good, good. I can tell you've been practicing. Now we're going to divide you approximately into two groups. Somewhere around here. Choose your poison. Group A will start. Then I'll ask Group B to join in. And then we might do some different things. So when I'm on your side, follow what I do, as the orchestra will as well. Here we go. Still in pulses of 4. Thank you. Did you notice that when we added the offbeats, boom, hop, the room got a little more tension in it? And then when we switched back and forth, there was a couple of seconds of, oh, which one am I on? But this is a very basic element of rhythm. These chords and melodies we've heard so far push us around a little bit. They make us want to do things. The same is true of rhythm. It has a tension within. And the fabulous part of music is when you add the tensions of melody, harmony, rhythm, pulse, we can do great things. All of this to get ideas across. We've done very well as an orchestra, but we have a piece that we'd like to share with you now that is called Pulsations. It's only for hands from the orchestra. And listen carefully and enjoy the rhythm as we do. Thank you. Well, music would be kind of dull if all we had were our hands, but even in itself it can be fun. We're going to play another piece by J.S. Bach now that is concerned with one rhythm in the main, which is, and that comes over and over and over and over. And it should be boring, but it's not. Because Bach adds the color of the instruments and the color of the chords to keep our interest. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are not precisely at a concert. We're not precisely at a lecture. We are precisely entering a new series from the Nepean Symphony called Understanding Music. For the past 3 years, the orchestra ventures into the schools of the region, and we usually arrive at various places some 50 times each year with various programs. And now, to start this program today, we played a piece. Perhaps you don't know what it is. I'll tell you in a minute. And I wonder, did we like it? Who liked it? Okay? No, it's not. Who didn't like it? We've seen music that had 4 ideas that were combined to make one. We've seen different chords. Melodies that push us around, rhythms that give us tension, push us around. And yet, we get longer pieces sometimes, symphonies, concertos, that have bigger ideas. And in a way, it's a little bit like mathematics. 2 plus 2 is 4. This is a truth, apparently. But if you just knew the answer, 4, would you know what the question was? We need to balance both sides of the equation. And composers do the same thing. They take an idea. It could be a rhythm, it could be colors from the orchestra, and they say, I have this idea, now what will I do with it? How can I work out this idea and finally solve the problem? And it's interesting, if you listen to music that way, you can almost hear the fight that goes on in the composer's mind. The fancy word for this is the development section. But I think the better word is the fighting or the working out of a very thorny idea. One can do this in language, one can do this in music. So we're going to take a piece now and put it in the laboratory of sound for you. And I want to start by giving you Mozart's answer to this problem. So first of all, we'll hear the answer. This is the answer. Would this be a piece by itself? It's pleasant. It sounds nice. Do we like G minor? Say yes. So let's see how we got there. Hundreds of bars back, we started with the basses, so we're just going to hear the bass part. Now, what do you think of that? We see the genius of Mozart now. Well, let's try the cellos. Let's see what they're up to. Well, maybe this music writing stuff isn't so hard after all. I could write that. Just rest. Well, let's try the viola. Let's try the lower viola. Well, it started well. There was more rhythm to it, but it was, didn't you find it a little dull by the end? It's kind of the same thing over and over. Let's hear the other violas. Maybe that's where the interest is. Well, a few more notes, the same rhythm. It's Mozart. I mean, he's the most played composer, and we've got boom, boom, and boopy ticky, boopy ticky, boopy ticky. What does it need? Is that? Well, let's see what the second violins are doing. I know this piece. CBC has done its work. But did you know it from that part? We have discovered the tune, the melody. It's what we tend to remember the most about pieces. But just by itself, it's pleasant. But it's not the Mozart G minor symphony that we've all come to love. Well, let's see what the first violins do. That sounds very suspicious. Have we heard that before? Is it exactly the same? Let's hear the second again. And the first. And what's the difference? What do you think? Then the second. Yeah. The folks nearest the fans are higher than the ones a little further back. Now this is interesting. We've got the first higher than the seconds by an octave. And they're both playing the same thing. And over on this side, we have the cellos higher than an octave by the basses. And that seems to be pretty equal. And in the middle, we have boopatiki boopatiki to keep our pulse, our lifeblood going. But we've missed something. Remember when we heard the answer? We've heard all the strings. Let's see what the winds are doing here. They're not playing. Now, why on earth? Didn't you hear them at the end? I remember they're all playing. They're not playing now. Why aren't the winds playing? Who knows why the winds aren't playing? They're fine players. They like to play. It's nothing like that. Yes? No? No, music is serious. We'll have no jokes in here. Let's be clear about that. Except we go to E flat after a D chord. Now you can chuckle there, but only if you music now. Why don't the winds play? I beg your pardon? It's not their turn. You're absolutely right. And who decides whose turn it is? Mozart. And Mozart said, winds? No way. I don't want you. Just as whoever designed this building said, this will be mauve, or whatever color it is, and that'll be blue. And if you look at a painting, it's not filled with every single color all of the time. And if you think about it, it amazes the mind of all the choices a composer can make. Who to play, what notes, what rhythm, what key. Thousands and thousands of decisions that have to be made every single bar. So no, the woodwinds do not play, but they come into a dialogue with this first idea, with the strings. So let's hear when they finally do arrive. So it's quite different. It's not boom, it's not pookie-tucky, it's not tia-dam, tia-dam, tia-dam. It's a comment. So when we put the whole piece together, we have a musical dialogue. There are many ideas coming at us, sometimes from the winds, sometimes from the strings, and sometimes from the most effective devices of music of all time, silence. Gives us a chance to regroup as listeners, as players, for the next idea. So now we'll listen to the whole problem and see if we can remember the solution as we play this movement of Mozart's G minor symphony. bit of information that we hear when we listen to music. Sometimes it's too much information, too much to absorb at once. I wonder if anyone here has ever heard a piece and said, good. And perhaps heard it again and said, yeah. And by about the fourth or fifth hearing, it's, yes. The same with any language. If I was suddenly to switch into German, there might be some difficulty understanding my meaning. From my tone, you might get a general idea, but the meaning can often be obscured. And what we have to do as an audience and as players is listen carefully to understand the meaning, to give it back on behalf of the composer, living or dead. So that was Mozart's idea. All these elements, put them all together, produce a piece that we have known to love for years, and I expect some of us here have heard for the first time. We're going to do a piece now by a Russian composer, Shostakovich. And he approaches this piece from yet a different angle still. Instead of just his idea, absolute music, here is my theme, I'm going to solve this puzzle, he's written a suite based on the Shakespearean play of Hamlet. And he's taken one of those characters, Ophelia. And now he's going to describe what he thinks of Ophelia using sound. So this is rather curious because we have a whole bunch of people now involved. We have Shakespeare, we have Shostakovich, I think you can tell it. Shostakovich. He's not here. No, Shostakovich will not be here. Sorry. And Shostakovich working together, unbeknownst to the other. Shakespeare was long dead before Shostakovich got around to finding a way of describing Ophelia.